PW. Mic test, mic test. Mic test, mic test. What's going on, PW? If you can make sure you can hear me. Perfect. Appreciate that. What's going on, Joe? What a wonderful day today. What's going on, Daniel? Yeah, I did a little mic test. I was using a different mic, so I just want to make sure you guys all heard me. Appreciate that. Welcome in, everyone. Welcome in. Appreciate that, D. I know that Monday Night Football is on. A lot of people are out watching Monday Night Football. The Chiefs have not been who the Chiefs are this season. What's going on, Randy? Sids, what's going on? Tesla's just insane. I think if you guys saw my tweet, I'm like, anybody ready to call top on Tesla? Like, literally, at this level, where are we going? We already broke 1,200. Are we going for 1,300 now at this point? It's like insanely crazy at this point. But nonetheless, let's get started, and then I'll see if I get a quick few tickers from you guys. I'll get a review, and I know that a lot of you probably still wanna, get some rest, and others wanna watch the football game. So let's get started real quick. Looking at S&P futures, we do see that we still have this broadening, expanding wedge. We did get a nice bounce that was back on Thursday. We got the nice push, and then we got a little bit of a pullback after that morning gap up that we had. And then we got that little V-shaped recovery that we wanted. So we ended up getting ground. We found support right around 45.86 on S&P futures. And so we're now starting to push back. I do expect us to hold this 4,600 level overnight here. I don't expect a breakdown on S&P futures here. So once we end up trying to get some ground around this 4,600 level, we should start to make our way back up. My next fib that I have is going to go up to 46.28. That'll be my next target on futures. And then above that, then I'm looking at the resistance of the broadening wedge. And overall, my next fib is going to be near 46.69. So either we can end up rejecting at the resistance of the broadening wedge, or we can continue to trend up and down zigzags in diagonal fashion, going up to my fib up to 46.62. So that'll be what I'm looking at right now in terms of S&P futures. I do expect the uptrend to continue, and so we'll see exactly how this ends up, manifesting itself. Basically, going into tomorrow, I do see a lot of setups that look decent, a lot of subs that look very extended. There are a few tech names that can continue to run. I know that Google's one of them. We can see a bounce back from Amazon. Apple is a little bit teetering right now. So there's a few names that can still lead us on the uptrend. And we'll see exactly how that continues holding that 4,600 level, like I said. So I do want to see that 4,600 level hold here overnight. And then we'll see if we end up continuing to open flat tomorrow, or if we get another gap up yet again. So that's what I'm looking at S&P futures. As far as NASDAQ, we have a little bit of a channel formation that I'm looking at. We actually hit the top end of that channel this morning. And so hence once we hit the top of that channel, that's what caused that drawback that we had. And so now we're going to see if we continue to go sideways before that next push higher up to resistance yet again, or if at this point now we're going to end up breaking the resistance, in which the fib that I have for NASDAQ futures here is 16,073 as my next target for NASDAQ futures. So that's what I'm going to be looking at right now. And I want to see if we end up breaking this resistance. As we've seen, the trend that I'm noticing is a lot of bearish patterns, like especially rising wedges. We're actually breaking the resistance on them. So I do expect to actually break the resistance if it's going to be a blow up top scenario at some point in time here. I do expect to break that resistance, and will likely will hit one of these fibs. If it's not this one, then it'll be the next one up, which I have at 16,264. And we'll see which one of those we actually end up hitting, and that'll be, our pullback scenario, in which we see a steeper pullback than we have in this channel itself. Okay, so that's the two scenarios I'm looking at in terms of S&P and NASDAQ. Now, of course, the beast that everyone's looking at right now, looking into Tesla, as we really saw I actually had my fib set at 1188. I thought we would wick off of 1200 and then immediately pull back. That was not the scenario, because if you guys actually saw, I actually mentioned it, I think around 2:30, 3 o'clock. I'm like, are we really going to have another squeeze into Tesla? And yet again, we blew right past 1200, closed at 1208, and then after hours, we literally pushed right above my fib here. I had a 1214. I think we're right around 1220 something and change. And so I'll be looking to hit this fib likely in the morning here, 1227, if we get a morning gap up. And then that'll keep us in play for this 1247 gap into the open. And if we get over that 1247 gap, then I'm looking at 1282, which sets us up for that 1300 mark. If that's be the case right now. Okay. But 1250, 1300, those are the round numbers that we're looking at as a mental aspect right now. It'll be 1250 and then it'll be 1300. So if we break 1250, then yeah, mental number overall, 1300 is going to be the scenario. And what I actually noticed more so with Tesla, for those of you that haven't noticed yet, is that pretty much the broader moves have been overnight or it's been in power hour. So keep that in mind, especially when you're trying to chase that during the day. Pretty much all the moves that Tesla has made, the biggest moves have been either overnight or it's been in the last, I want to say, what, 15 minutes or so before close. So that's something to keep in mind, especially if you want to go and continue to chase this one, as we have been trying to do the past few days. And it eats up a lot of data, especially when you go out of the money. So that's just something to keep in mind. But other than that, those are the levels that I'm watching on that one. Going into another name here, and this is a little bit more different, was JPM. A little bit of a different scenario here. I do think that we have a little bit of an inverted head and shoulders here, especially going into the taper story on Wednesday here. That's going to be something that I continue to watch here as the banks, because they're going to be the ones to likely spike off of the taper news. So I do like JPM here. I think the setup was just worth noting and keeping it on watch. So I do like this one. If we get over this 172 level, then we'll see a nice breakout out of JPM. So it's just something to watch going into Wednesday here. Maybe we get a nice push into tomorrow ahead of the Fed taper, and which maybe Nasdaq doesn't necessarily lead the market, and we look elsewhere. Like Boeing continues to run its airlines, cruise lines, the banks will be in that scenario ahead of the taper scenario that we're likely expecting come Wednesday. All right. Another one I'm watching is Airbnb, and this one I do have to pull out the time frame here. I think it looks a little better on the 4 hour. This one has a nice ascending channel. What I was actually looking for is the break here of this, what I say is downtrend but flat line that we have here. Over that break of 173, that was really what I was looking for. So my next level that I'm watching for is over 175. And a few days back, I think it was more so early last week, I actually saw calls going out to 185, 190 on this for Airbnb. And they were actually tackling the middle of November. So I do have this on radar. I do expect one of these days that it's going to make a big push. It hasn't these past few days, as you saw. It's having a lot of chop, but the key was that it actually bounced off the support of the channel. That was pretty important. So I will continue to watch this one. I expect this one to have a pretty big move here in these coming days, and we'll get a nice push out of it. And then let's see, the other one that I have noted was CMG. I actually just noted this one only because of the particular pattern that it had a nice little falling wedge. I know what with Chipotle, no, the biggest issue has been liquidity, so that's just something to monitor. But it does have a beautiful falling wedge here action. So if we get this break, if we get a break over 1812, this will definitely be worth something watching because it is a big mover. And at the same time, if you get something very cheap out of the money, if the liquidity is there, of course, this could definitely be one that pays. Especially since in this market, we do have to be very selective in the names. As you see, some tech names will continue to run, some will really just do bad. So just being a very selective, this is just one that I will keep on the radar. If we don't find any selections on the other side of the market, this will be one that I just have on the back of my watch list here. Microsoft was one. I'll continue to watch this one also. If I go down to the 30-minute, I think this one also has a little bit of an ascending channel formation also, since it had that massive spike. We're pretty much just teetering along the support line of this channel right now. So we could see this and continue to break. We're looking at this breaking over that 330 mark yet again. And if we get over that 330, I would say close enough to 331. If we get over back to 331, then we're looking at pushing 332. So that's one that's worth noting. Like I said, there's certain tech stocks that do have room to the upside, even at this point, that we're a little bit overextended in certain areas. This is one that can continue to push. So I would look for this one over 331. Then we're looking close to 332. And then we do have a little bit more of 332.90 and then 333.88 to test the resistance of the channel yet again. So that'll be one that I definitely keep an eye on because Microsoft moves very smoothly. So I do like playing this one. I pointed out the other day, if I'm not mistaken, it was on Friday, that we actually had a bull pennant on this one. And that was a beautiful move. It just ripped off like $5 or $6 on Friday when we dumped with Amazon and Apple. So Microsoft was one of those names that actually led the market on Friday. So that was a beautiful one. So I'll keep this one definitely on watch tomorrow. And I do expect this to continue bouncing off of that support level as this channel continues to ascend. Another one that was pretty much just a ripper, and this one's more, I'm watching this one more so for a pullback, but we do have a nice little wedge going on here on McDonald's as we hit the resistance on this megaphone, I would say it is. We hit a nice little defined resistance level as we hit the wick there, the body here, and then the wick at the end of this resistance line. So I'll be looking to see if we get a pullback. The key level that I'm looking at is 248.60. That's really the key level that I'm watching. If we end up breaking down below 248.60, then we can see further downside as it's already made pretty much an extensive move to the upside. And so I'll look below that 248 mark. I'll look to see if this is a potential short in which there's very cheap premium that can compensate for that, because I do like to see the cheap premium can definitely take advantage of that and higher volume contracts that I can actually, probably load up about 20, 30 contracts at a cheaper rate. So that's why I do have this one on the radar. I've been seeing it move, what, $4 or $5 on average the past few days. So I want to see if I can capitalize on the downside move potentially if it ends up breaking that 248 level. Otherwise, if we see the 248 hold, then we can end up retesting the resistance and potentially breaking out of it if be the case. Another one that I'm also watching, and if you guys, for those of you that are on the newsletter, you actually saw that I had Target on the newsletter. That's one I'm still waiting on the breakout for. But I do like a little bit of an inverse head and shoulders action on Walmart. I'll keep an eye on this one also. I want to see this actually break out. I did see call for out to the 155 strike for Walmart for next week. So I'm going to continue to watch Walmart here. This may be another one. This is also another one that has cheap premium. So this might be another runner that we can potentially take advantage of tomorrow. So I will keep that one on watch. And this is one that we actually had. This is a beautiful one I tweeted out about. This is actually one of the rapids that were pretty much successful today. That was literally just money on that put rapid that we had for Google. But what I just want to show you guys is that we actually broke the downtrend, as you saw. And what we actually had today was that we retested that downtrend as support today. So I know that there's a lot of buyers out for the 1300 call strike for this week on Google. So I'm looking for this support to hold where we finished the day here today, and I want to see get a reversal. So if we end up getting that reversal right back over that 2902 mark, that'll be a beautiful upside that we'll see on this one. So I will definitely watch this one along with Microsoft. I think those two have pretty much the biggest potential tomorrow, alongside Tesla, of course, for tech. So this will definitely be one that I continue to watch. I think Google might be my preference over Microsoft only because of the pretty much the overall upside that this has. It being that buyers are all the way out to 3,000 strike. That's about $100 upside for this week. So I do like this one a little bit better. Obviously, the premiums are more expensive. So if that's the case, then you want to go to Microsoft for the cheaper premium. But I just like this, the spot that's in, retesting that downtrend at support now, and then we can get a reversal over that 2902 mark. It'll definitely be in my sight there. But those are the ones I was pretty much watching. Other than that, we'll see what the other names do. If you guys actually also saw the other rapid that paid beautifully was Facebook. We pointed that one out. I think everyone really got in Facebook. That was a beautiful one. I took a quick like 8% out of Facebook Rapids, and I actually saw that some people actually got at least 25% out of those Facebook Rapids. That was just beautiful. So Facebook and Google Rapids were really the highest paying ones today. That was just beautiful if you took that. And that pretty much probably just made your day right there. Hopefully you didn't give it back. But other than that, we'll see what the market gives us, tomorrow morning. Hopefully we don't gap up again. I think that's just really just been the story of every single day. We had this massive gap up, and it kind of just leaves us with not much room to the upside. Another one that I was actually watching, and I believe Avery's also really big on it, was Roblox. Actually, that came to mind. We had what I thought was a little bit of an inverted head and shoulders action on Roblox, but we're pretty much just chopping it up just a bit. But there were a lot of buyers out to the 90 strike, and I know that Avery also had his Elliott wave going out to the 90 call strike, which pretty much executed a wave 3. So that would have been his wave 1, 2, and 3 ended at 90. So that was one that I'm also watching here. So that's something to keep an eye on also tomorrow. We saw a little bit of a downside here today, but that's one that we could see this continue to flip. So that's just one to also monitor. I'm sure he'll highlight it tomorrow if it's in play tomorrow. But that just crossed my mind because I know that he was watching that one also. But other than that, that pretty much wrapped up my watch list for tomorrow. We'll see what the market presents and we'll go from there. I'll take 2 or 3 takers and then we'll call it a day here. Let me see. You said Snap. Let me see Snap real quick. So I still have my level. This was actually really the demand zone that I wanted to buy in, and that was pretty much below 50. That was really my entry point that I wanted. But zooming in right now, it looks like we have a little bit of a pennant formation. Let's see if I draw that out. And I draw that out. So we can go a little bit more sideways for about another day or so. You definitely want to see this get over this level of 54.42. That would really be the level that I would watch for the upside, and that you would break out of this pennant. If you end up breaking out of this pennant, then you're looking at a few levels that you're watching. Next level resistance is around 55.86. And if you break 55.86, then you're looking at potentially filling this wick where you're going to test the gap fill. And so you'll test that gap fill at 60.78. So those are the 3 levels that I'm watching on Snap. But unfortunately, I'm a little bit more leaning towards the bear side on Snap. And so we could end up getting a little bit of a pop, which might be a little bit of a fake out. So be careful with that. And then we can continue to go to the downside, in which this is what I would say is a bearish pennant. You have the flagpole going to the downside, you break the pennant, and then you get the equal length of the flagpole down to the downside. So that's really what I'm watching, in which that would actually fill down to the end of my demand zone right here, in which that'll be 47.98, and that would honestly be my buy territory in which I'll step in and buy calls. Right now, I really have to see a break. If it really broke over this level of 54.84, then I would really consider buying calls. But I have to see some type of directional move here in which you're pretty much just consolidating sideways in a pennant. Alright? So that's the scenario with Snap. Another one you mentioned, Amazon. I don't think Amazon really did anything in particular. Probably going on to a lower time frame for Amazon. What I was watching, and this is initially from Friday, was that we ended up breaking this trendline support that we had. This was the earnings gap down that we had. We ended up making about $100 move from the open on Friday. So we made a nice push. I was expecting a little bit more of an extension to actually hit the actual resistance line of this, but we didn't get that. So we ended up coming right back down to where I had my support level of 3307. And so watching that, I'm looking to see if we're actually going to hold 3307. If that's the case, then we can see another push towards this resistance level now. In which, if that's the case, then we can end up testing near 3400 if that be the case. So definitely need to hold 3307. I think right now that's really key support right now. And we'll see if that ends up holding by tomorrow morning. And if that holds, then I'll be interested in looking for the upside on this one, in which I'll likely join Google and Microsoft to the upside. And tech could have a really nice day tomorrow before the Fed taper news, possibly. All right, but 3307 is very key. And then we have enough upside up to 3400. All right. Let me see another one. That the last one that I'm going to look at is What's the last one? Someone mentioned. All right, you mentioned PayPal. Look at PayPal. I haven't looked at PayPal in quite a while. Ouch. PayPal still below the support level that I had. Ouch. All right. So what I had was a descending channel. We ended up breaking that descending channel. The bad part about that is that we already retested resistance. That was support before. We ended up testing as resistance and we made a newer low. Now that I don't particularly like. So if I'm looking for the upside, if you're in calls, you're pretty much looking at retesting here around the 236 mark. That will be your upside to retest to reclaim this channel. If you're not able to reclaim this channel, then the support level that I'm really looking at is close enough to right here, in which your downside has a floor of about 227 short term. All right. So either 227 or you're looking at testing 236 to reclaim the channel. Those are the two levels that you're watching. All right. But other than that, I think we're gonna call it a night here, guys. Those are the three tickers that I'm gonna watch here tonight. We'll see what the market really presents tomorrow, and then we'll be on live to call out whatever's pretty much showing hands for some nice moves tomorrow. But you guys go have a good night, get some rest, and watch some football. And I will see you guys on live tomorrow morning. All right. Have a good night, everyone. Take care.